Today I'm joined by Jesse Schulman, marketing manager at TriMed. Jesse, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, how'd you get into this industry? Was it always the plan for you?
It actually wasn't. My dad and my uncle founded TriMed with one other partner, so has been a part of my life. My dad, Rob Medoff, is also an orthopedic surgeon, so I've been surrounded by orthopedics, medicine, and TriMed for 30 years. I actually never expected to work for them, but kind of fell into this role since I had studied mass communications in college.
So, as the marketing manager for your company, where does your budget allocations lie and what projects are you currently focusing on the most right now?
So this year, we would like to focus on investing some more time into outreach to some of our customers, our orthopedic surgeons. We would like to try to figure out ways that we can consistently reach them through education and educational events. We are currently attending 4 trade shows. They're trade shows that we attend every single year. AAOS, ACFAS, AOFAS, and ASSH. But in between there, throughout the year, we also have a couple of seminars that are sponsored purely by TriMed. We focus a lot on education and new fixation techniques, new advancements in orthopedics. And then we also have these local courses where we have educational events and labs, cadaver labs, sabon labs, where we have practicing surgeons come in and actually instruct fellows and residents on some of the techniques of our technologies.
So, obviously, staying with your clientele is very important to you. How do you maintain these relationships with your current clients?
So we do that in several different ways. One way is through digital outreach. So we're very active on social media, LinkedIn and Instagram specifically. We like to connect with surgeons that have different tips and pearls on how to use our implants or on any fixation technique in general. We like to highlight those surgeons and some of the cases that they've had through social media outreach. Big portion of how we connect with our audience is through our educational events, and specifically our seminars and courses, because they're much more intimate settings where surgeons have opportunities to meet some of our surgeon faculty members and our KOLs, as well as interact with a lot of people on our team, not just the sales team specifically, but some of the people in marketing, product management, events, and other departments like that.
So, building these relationships is obviously very important, but how do you get them in the first place?
Oh, so that's interesting. And this was something that was extremely fun for me because orthopedics is it's a little bit different. The way that we form these relationships, there's several ways that we can do that. The main way that we tend to form our relationships is we have these small courses throughout the year where we bring KOLs, orthopedic surgeons, who are experts in their field, and we have them come in and do courses that can be anywhere from half a day to 1 or 2 days on different fixation techniques, different types of treatments that are coming out in the field. And then those surgeons who are in training, our fellows and our residents, they actually have opportunities to get some hands-on training and use the implants either on cadavers or on sawbones. We really like these settings because we get to personally meet people, interact with them, get to know them a little bit more outside of surgery, but also we just have this fun opportunity where we get to, explore different fixations and treatments with our implants. So that's, I would say, probably our most impactful way that we reach out and we start forming these connections. And then we try to follow them through fellowship and residency and keep in contact, offer support when we can, so that when they go into practice, we already have that relationship formulated. But we also will formulate relationships through our sales force. So as our sales force is on the field, they're constantly reaching out to hospitals, reaching out to orthopedic surgeons, inviting them to our events, and they will actually go to their offices and visit them and try to form the relationships that way. And then in the marketing department, the way that we support them is through digital outreach, newsletters, the typical types of communication that you normally do in marketing.
Okay. And on that topic, what would you say the most successful form of digital outreach is that you've done?
Honestly, we have actually been pretty successful in social media on our Instagram page. It took us a little bit of time to figure out how to really utilize this tool to our advantage, just because the field that we work in is very different from most of the other fields out there, especially ones who are utilizing social media as a form of outreach. So we've figured out the formula that works for us. But what we've done, which is a little bit different than what most of our competitors are doing in the space, is we started bringing on surgeons and collaborating with them on cases, on tips and pearls for the operating room, things like that.
So now you've given me a great example of something that's worked really well for you. Can you give me an example of something that you tried and maybe didn't work out too well or not as well as you were expecting?
Yeah, there were several things that we've tried, and there are a couple things that I would say that have been less successful for us. One of those things is email blasts and newsletters. Often a lot of technical difficulties when it comes to things like that. Emails going to spam, people miss the email, but also in today's day and age, people get so inundated with so many sponsored emails that you really have to. I'm not sure if it's we just haven't really strategized it enough, but it's the luck of the draw that they'll open up your email. Another thing that I will say that has been a challenge for us, surprisingly, is physical ads in the medical journals. So I have several challenges that I face when we are approached by medical journals to do advertisements within the journal. The main one is it's very hard to track to see. I mean, I know what the readership is. I know who receives the physical journal, but it's very difficult to see if they actually stop on our ad, if they're viewing it, if it's impactful, if it's valuable for them. Another thing that I've been hearing about medical journals too is that everybody is really connected online. You know, we live in a very digital age where our main method of communication is through the internet. It's through social media apps, it's through email, it's through text. And I have spoken to several surgeons, especially the younger crowd that is coming into practice, where, if they're looking for a clinical study, the first place that they go is online. They don't sit and really flip through the journal. They might if they have, they're sitting at home and they have nothing to do and it happens to be there. But if they're looking for something very specific, they will either go to the society's website and find the clinical study that way, or they'll just do, a simple Google search or go to Google Scholar to see if they can find something through that channel.
Okay. So a little bit before this point, you mentioned your email campaigns obviously didn't work out as well as you were expecting. And you touched briefly on strategy. Did you go and look at your strategy and try and find why it went wrong afterwards? And if so, what did you uncover?
We did. We asked around a few surgeons, probably would do a deep dive into this to see if it really is effective and if it's worth investing time and money into doing newsletters and email blasts. I do think that there is something valuable in it if it's used correctly, if it's targeted correctly. One of the challenges that we face at TriMed is that we have a lot of things going on and we don't have a lot of resources to allocate to that. It seems like it's something very simple, but it takes a lot of time and energy to have a regular newsletter or email blast going out, much more than most people expect. So I hope one day when we have more resources that we'll be able to allocate some time and invest some budget into looking at that more closely. We haven't completely pulled the plug on it yet because I do think that there is a place for that. I just have to figure out, really analyze how to use this channel properly so that we can actually reach the surgeons that we want to reach.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Small little things create much bigger compound issues down the line with emails. I'm sure you have
Yes.
seen that before. So, shifting gears a slight bit here. With this upcoming year, we're still very fresh. I mean, it's the 9th of Jan right now when recording this. What are your big plans or what would you say your goals are for this year moving forward?
Well, I would say one of our biggest goals that we're focused on, again, is outreach. We have some plans in the works that we're trying to get approved where we hope to have mobile labs like some of our competitors do. So basically, it's a sprinter van that can set up out of a facility and we can conduct small educational kiosks or events to outreach to our surgeons. We are also focused on supporting our sales force. We're always looking at ways on how we can better support them so that their job, they can spend more time forming the connections and less time trying to gather those leads and do the hard part. So basically in marketing, our job, and I tell this to everybody, our job is not to make the sale. Our job is to make it so that when they knock on the door, the surgeons and the staff know who they are and they're waiting for them. And so that's always our biggest goal, is how to make that happen. I know we're going to be focusing a lot on our events and figuring out ways that we can collaborate with surgeons on new products, but also continuing to focus on education and outreach and, connecting with our customers.
On to my favorite question here. If you had a magic wand and this magic wand could solve any problem at your business right now that you're currently dealing with, what would it be and why?
So at TriMed, we have a pretty lean marketing team. Aside from my boss, who's the VP of marketing, within the marketing department itself, it's just myself and my partner, Angela. If I had a magic wand, I would say that I would love to bring in more people to help us out and really build our team out, because considering how big we are in this space, we're still relatively small, and we're even though we've been around for 30 years, we're still one of the newer companies in the space. So we've had a lot of success over the past 3 decades. And, we have a lot of unique products that none of our competitors have that provide really successful forms of treatment. And so in the past, a lot of the budget has been focused into new product designs, into our events. And I'm hoping that this year we can start building out our team and growing with the company.
Awesome. Well, I wish you all the best with that. Do you have any last pearls of wisdom or pieces of advice you'd like to leave for our listeners here?
Yeah, I would say, as somebody in marketing, if you encounter something or a challenge that doesn't seem to work out, it's always good to step back and look at it from a top level view and try to understand what wasn't working out, and never be afraid to try something new. I find that when I talk to a lot of people in marketing, they'll try to do something and it wasn't successful, so they drop it. And I tell people all the time, a huge part of what we do is trial and error. And that's why I personally enjoy it. I like the problem solving aspect of it. So my biggest recommendation would just be, never be afraid to try something new. And if it doesn't work out, just look at it from a top level view and keep going.
Beautiful. And lastly, to end things off here, Jessie, where could our listeners get in touch if they'd like to reach out for whatever reason?
Sure. So they can always go to our website, which is trimedortho.com. There they'll find an online form that they can fill out. And it goes directly to us and our customer service team. If they have any questions, they can always reach out to us on social media. Again, we're very active on LinkedIn and on Instagram. So they can always reach out to us there. So on our website, you'll be able to find our contact form, our email, and also our phone number on how to reach
Beautiful.
us.
Well, Jessie, was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining our podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.